When we think about success, what comes to your mind? A breakthrough moment, a huge opportunity, or a sudden transformation? We often imagine success as something dramatic, like one day, everything finally changes. But the more I observe successful people, the more I notice something different. Today, I want to talk about a topic almost everyone has thought about, searched for, or traced at some point in life: success. Recently, I've been reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill again. It's actually a book that Bob Proctor, the founder of the personal coaching program I joined, said he studied throughout his whole life. I also made another video sharing my experience and reflections from the coaching program. So if you are interested in learning more about it, I've linked the video here as well. And while reflecting on the ideas from the book, the program, and the lives of inventors, athletes, artists, scientists, and creators throughout history, I started noticing a very interesting pattern. Part of the reason this stood out to me is because I've been experiencing it myself. Over the past few months, I've been building this YouTube channel, learning Dutch, and working toward goals that don't always show immediate results. And sometimes it can feel like nothing is happening. There are still days when I look at this YouTube channel or my Dutch learning or a goal I'm working toward and wonder if it's actually working. But when I zoom out, I realize that most meaningful things in life grow quietly for a long time before they become visible. And when I look at the people I admire, I keep seeing the same pattern. Progress often looks invisible before it becomes visible. And I suspect many of the things we are hoping for in life are growing in exactly the same way, quietly. When we think about success, we often think about people like Thomas Edison, Leonardo da Vinci, Henry Ford, famous athletes, artists, scientists, entrepreneurs, or creators with millions of followers. People who seem exceptional, people who created something meaningful, mastered a skill, or changed the world in some way. And I think sometimes we automatically see people from history who achieved great success as completely different from us, almost like they were born extraordinary, people far beyond the reach of ordinary life. And because of that, success can start feeling distant, like something only certain people are capable of achieving. But what if for a moment we forget about their names, their fame, or the final results they became known for, and simply observe what they repeatedly did every day, practicing, learning, experimenting, failing, adjusting, continuing, over and over again? Because when we only focus on the final result, successful people can feel distant from us. But when we observe the actual process behind their success, it often looks much more ordinary than we imagined. Creation rarely happens in one dramatic moment. What we often call a breakthrough is usually the result of repeated thought, practice, experimentation, failure, adjustment, and persistence over time. Thomas Edison spent years testing ideas that were not working yet. He reportedly tested more than 1,000 different materials before successfully developing a practical light bulb. Abraham Lincoln faced repeated setbacks, lost multiple elections, and experienced business failures before eventually becoming president. Henry Ford's first automobile company failed. His second company failed as well. Only later did Ford Motor Company become successful. And Leonardo da Vinci spent years filling notebooks with sketches, ideas, and observations, long before becoming one of the most famous creators in history. Different people, different goals, different time periods. And yet the pattern looks remarkably similar. The more I look at these people, the more I realized their lives often looked much more ordinary during the process than we imagine today. And interestingly, the same pattern still exists everywhere today. Athletes repeat the same movements over and over again for years, slowly building strength, precision, and skill. Musicians practice the same fundamentals repeatedly, often long before anyone recognizes their talent. Scientists spend years researching, testing, and refining ideas. Even many successful YouTubers and creators today usually spend years making videos, consistently improving little by little and continuing even when very few people were watching. The final result may look dramatic, but the process that created it usually wasn't. And honestly, what I keep noticing is this. Successful people aren't necessarily doing extraordinary things every day. They are often doing ordinary things for an extraordinary amount of time. They keep returning, they keep practicing, they keep learning, they keep adjusting, and over time, their life starts building momentum in one direction. Because success is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's actually quite boring. It's not one huge breakthrough moment where suddenly everything changes overnight. Most of the time, success looks more like repetition, a lifestyle, a direction you keep moving forward, even when nothing feels exciting. And this is why structure matters so much. Success is often less about extraordinary moments and more about the systems you continue returning to every day. And the interesting thing is this. Many of the things we want to achieve have already been achieved by ordinary people, not because they were perfect, not because they were always motivated, not because they were exceptionally talented, but because they built systems around what they wanted. If you look at successful companies, they don't rely on one person feeling inspired every single day. They build structures. Different departments handle different responsibilities. People make mistakes. Employees leave. Projects fail. Not everyone is a genius, but the company keeps moving forward because the structure continues functioning. And perhaps that's the real takeaway. We can approach our lives the same way. Treat yourself like a company. Not because life should feel mechanical, but because structure can support the life you want to create. Be clear about what you want. Then slowly start building structures around it. If you want to find a better job, spend 30 minutes per day to look for new jobs. If you want to become healthier, start replacing snacks with nuts or going for a short walk after dinner. If you want to learn a language, start learning and practice simple words for 5 minutes per day. It doesn't need to be perfect in the beginning. Small structures repeated consistently can completely change the direction of your life. And if you want to go deeper into how to slowly build supportive systems and structure in your life, I also made another video about that, where I share more practical ideas and actions you can start with. One pattern I keep noticing among successful people is this. They pay attention to what they repeatedly do every day. Because success is rarely created through one dramatic moment, it's usually built quietly through repeated actions, repeated practice, repeated learning, repeated adjustment, repeated effort in the same direction. Over time, those ordinary actions start building momentum, and eventually that momentum becomes visible results. Looking back, I think that's why progress often looks invisible before it becomes visible. So the question is not, can I succeed? But instead, what am I repeatedly doing every day? And perhaps An even deeper question is, who am I becoming through what I repeatedly do every day? Because whether we notice it or not, our repeated actions are quietly shaping our future. And they are also shaping who we become. So instead of trying to change your entire life overnight, you can simply start with being aware of your time and activities. One small thing you can start doing is this. Try writing down what you repeatedly do each day. It can be very simple, maybe just 1 or 2 sentences before you sleep. What did you spend most of your time on today? What habits did you repeat? Not to judge yourself, but simply to become more aware, because awareness is often the first step to change. And sometimes a small moment of awareness can change the direction of your life more than you expect. So tonight, take a moment to notice what you repeatedly do. You might discover that your future is already being built one day at a time. Thank you so much for watching. And if this video resonated with you, you can subscribe for more videos about awareness, personal growth, mindset, and building a more intentional life. I'll see you in the next video.